video ads have a 2 to 2.5 times better click-through rate than sponsored product ads and a 1.5 to 2 times better conversion rate if you know how to set them up correctly. However, if you don't, it is very easy to waste time and ad dollars. In this video, we're going to be walking through, first off, where these ads show up in the platform. 2, how to get your creatives right so they convert better and you don't have to waste time getting re-edits. And number 3, we're going to be diving into the ad console and I'm going to be walking you through start to finish on how to launch these campaigns and what settings to avoid if you don't want to waste money. So where do these ads even show up on the platform? Actually, and also some new placements that Amazon rolled out not that long ago, as well as some new formatting. So your video ads can appear in Amazon search results in the top of search. So the traditional headline ads, I'm actually going to show you what settings you need to select when you set up your campaigns to get that top spot. They can show up within listings on product detail pages, as well in the middle and the bottom of the search pages. So these ad types, when they first rolled out, there was only a couple placements on the search page, and now it seems like video is everywhere. And if you are not taking advantage of this properly, you are missing out on a huge way to drive a lot of traffic. Because remember, with increased click-through rates comes more traffic, as well as traffic that converts better than the traditional ads. So there's a couple ways you can do the targeting. And again, we're going to be walking through step by step in the platform, but you can link to either your brand store or you can have shoppers land on your product detail pages. Again, whole host of way to drive traffic with this ad type. So now that you know where these ads show up, again, we want to make sure that your setup success, and success in a video ad requires a good creative. Now, we run thousands of these campaigns in our agency, and we actually went through a while back and did a really intense study to figure out what is the most effective, what is the highest converting types of videos, and what can we learn from the success as well as the failures that we've seen with these campaigns. So I want to walk you through the specific thing that we found, the one thing that you can be doing and you can tell your editor to do with your video ad creatives that is going to not only get you that 1.5 to 2 time increase in your conversion rate, but even greater than that. But before we do that, before I tell you that one tidbit and that secret, and then again, we walk through actually the settings you should avoid when you're going to set these things up, I want to go through the basics. Because what I have seen is that a lot of times, if you don't just get the basics or Amazon's video specs correct, I've seen so many videos get rejected because they didn't follow these very basic guidelines. So I'm just going to pop these up on screen. We're also going to have a resource link down in the comments of a deck that you could actually send your video editor. Highly recommend we supply that to all of our clients, because what we found is that a lot of times, if you don't get the dimensions right, if you don't have the right frame rate, if you don't have the right file size, bit rates, all of these things, if you don't get the wording right, or you put something else in the creative that is against the guidelines, your video is going to get rejected. And that's not even getting to the one tidbit I'm going to share you, like even having a good video, it's just getting you on base. And so you really want to make sure when it comes to your video ads that you are following Amazon's guidelines. And so there's actually 2 types of videos or 2 specs of videos that you can set up. So the traditional, the horizontal, the landscape videos, those are the ones that historically Amazon has allowed us, but they recently launched the ability to also add in vertical videos, which is amazing. So vertical videos maybe don't look as good on desktop, but when you're on mobile, they take up a huge portion of the screen. So I highly recommend, if you have the ability to, testing this video format. But again, you want to make sure that your aspect ratios are correct. The dimensions need to be correct. Again, highly recommend going in the comments, getting that resource as well. But the other thing that we have found, again, we're not even getting to creatives, we're just looking at the basics right now, is not following what Amazon calls this safe space. So again, when it comes to setting up your videos, you need to be very careful where your text and your logos appear. Now, when we get to the actual creatives and some of Amazon's recommendations, and then also us sharing the one tip that we've got over analyzing thousands of different videos, you want to make sure that you're not having any of these graphic elements in any of these not safe spaces. So when you need to do, tell your video editors like, hey, we can't have anything touching the border. So these are the safe areas. So you got to keep all text, logos, any overlay elements need to not be placed in, this sort of slim margins here. But then also, this not safe space right here is actually the button that shoppers can enable to be able to listen to the audio. So by default, when a shopper comes across your video, it's not going to have audio. That's going to go into the creatives in a second. But what I've seen is that a lot of brands will put the logo in this not safe space. And again, it's going to get your video rejected. You're going to have to spend time and money to get things fixed. So best to just know the right specifications and the things that can get your video rejected right off the bat. So again, that's just the technicals. But when it comes to the ad policy, you need to make sure that you're following this correctly. Again, we have Amazon's video guidelines. So again, it needs to be no letterboxes or pillar format. So what we found is that even if you have a small blank space on the edges of the video, that will get your video rejected as well. Again, so they do not permit any black or frames at the starts or ends of the video. So make sure that it fills up the whole space. Don't have that. Now, when it comes to the actual content of the videos and what is allowed and what is not, make sure that you read their policies very carefully. So the videos have to be suitable for general audiences. You have to comply with all of their ads policies. And here Amazon starts giving us some recommendations, which are good. So video brand ads autoplay. So when they're on the screen, they're auto playing, but they launch on mute. So what Amazon's recommending and what you need to be aware of is that make sure that the viewer can understand the context of the video without the audio. Now, I do actually recommend you use audio, even if it's just a subtle overlay of some music. I'm going to talk about the specifications in a second, but it must be clear to the customer that the video, so if you're going to launch with no audio whatsoever, you actually have to put it somewhere in the video, like an overlay that like, hey, by the way, there's no audio, which kind of makes a weird video. So what I would recommend is just putting some sort of nice music overlays. Most likely it's going to be turned off, but something, if it was turned on, it would add to the experience, but it's not required to understand the video. Again, customers must be able to understand the video without the audio. Again, link in the description to grab a resource, a helpful resource to send the video editor, or maybe just link them back to this video because I think they'll find it helpful as well. So other things to know is audio and any text within the video must be the primary language of the locale it is displayed. So if you're going to try and run a video, obviously you can run US, Mexico, and the UK, those are going to have English, but if you want to run in some of the other EU, you will need to get that translated. So keep in mind, if you're doing a voice overview, that would need to be in the localized language. But if you're just going to do a nice music without any lyrics in it, and then that's a lot easier to switch over when it comes to the messaging or the text overlays. So that might be something to keep in mind. Again, video formats and quality also popped open a little bit more of the specifications later. So again, I highly recommend you get that resource. And then other things to keep in mind is no blurry or unclear or unrecognizable visuals. It does have to be a clean, clear video, no blurriness. Even, you don't want your homemade iPhone video. Not that those are wrong, but if you can't see anything and it's moving around, not going to get approved. Again, creative elements, you have to have the safe zone, which we went over. No customer reviews, so you can't overlay customer reviews. You can't say like deals, discounts, savings, promotions. You can't call that out. No distracting images. So we have had a couple clients where they wanted to do some cool flashy things, but the video ended up getting rejected because no like pulsating strobing videos. It needs to be legible. No distracting shrill or unexpected jarring sounds. If you want a crunch or a bam, or maybe you're connotating the vocals or the background noises with something, you can't have any sudden noises in there. Again, the sound is off, but these are just general compliances. No illegible text, so make everything actually readable. No poor audio quality, crackling. Just make a good video. Don't make a crappy video. Again, poor video quality, low resolution. It needs to be a good resolution, which again, there's those resolution specs. No pressuring, combative, or language. Just has to showcase the product. And then other typical compliance, no drugs, alcohol, weapons, sexually connotative content, just anything that would be against Amazon guidelines in general. So that is like the basics, the things from Amazon. So what is the one tidbit that we have found is the most important thing when it comes to the creatives and developing a video that's going to get even better click-through rates and better conversion rates? And this is the key. You want to make sure that the first frame of your video, the very first frame, needs to showcase the product. Ideally, the product in some interesting way that would cause the customer to want to click. So the very first frame, there are some places on Amazon. Again, the Amazon says that these videos autoplay. There have been some times where we've noticed that the video does not autoplay. So you want that first frame, and it needs to be very, very clear what the product is. The thing with Amazon advertising, video ads included, is Amazon is very search-based, which means when a customer or a shopper comes across your product, they are looking for a particular product. Saying, I want a garlic peeler, I want a bedspread, I want this thing. Your video needs to make it very apparent that, hey, I have this thing. This is my thing. And this is the thing that you are looking for. And ideally, it is put in a really good light. Now, other good things that you definitely want to make sure that you do is you want to showcase the product in use, give them the features, show them the benefits. What are the things? Video creatives are a fantastic way to be able to build your brand and show your product in a way that you would otherwise not be able to. That's why these are so powerful. However, I do want to keep in mind when it comes to the actual length of the video, Amazon does recommend keeping it shorter. So Amazon themselves recommend aim for a 15 to a 30-second video. So although we want to show the features and the benefits, we definitely want to build our brand, we want to showcase everything about the product, make sure that every single frame counts in your video. You don't want any fluff. You don't want any static, dry images. You don't want anything that is not going to serve you, because these videos need to be short and quick. And other things is these videos do loop. So keep that in mind when you are producing your video. And also be mindful, again, these are for mobile viewers, so you want to show the product. The most clear thing I've seen in terms of contrasting what was a good opening shot and what was a poor opening shot was a brand that we had that was advertising jewelry. So we work with some jewelry brands, and they had done a really great job of getting a lot of lifestyle videos produced. So a model wearing the jewelry. Well, in the opening shot of a couple of their videos, the model was about where I'm sitting now from the camera. So I'm wearing a ton of jewelry, right? And if you saw me, I'm more in focus, right? Our brains are programmed to notice people first. If we see eyes, we notice them first. And so it wasn't very apparent. Like you can notice I'm wearing I have earrings on, I have a necklace on, I have some rings on, I've got some bracelets, right? So it's like, oh, what am I looking at, right? I'm looking for jewelry, but like, am I advertising the hoops? Like what part of this is this product? I don't know if you've been shopping online for clothing or doing anything and you're like, oh wow, I love that outfit, that's so cute, I love those pants, and you click on it and then that is a listing for like a shirt and you're like, oh, where was the pants? I want the pants, right? So you need to like showcase the specific thing. So the videos that did do very well for this jewelry brand were the ones where they had the specific one in focus. So for example, like if it was my ring, it would be like, okay, there's this shot, right? And probably not my face and just the ring, right? So it would need to be something that's like, oh, that is a specific thing, and then that draws them in to be able to watch more of the features and benefits. And ideally, you have an appealing product, and again, maybe you put it in more of a clickbaity way, but a way that's a very, oh, that is a specific product, which leads to much better clicks. Because again, if you're getting your advertising targeting right, we're going to talk about targeting. I'm going to show you step by step, start to finish, how exactly you would build these campaigns. But it needs to start off with a good creative. Okay, so we got where they're targeting, creatives. Let's dive into how to actually launch these campaigns, because if you don't launch them correctly, if you pick the wrong settings, there are some things that will waste you a ton of money, and I don't want that for you. So without further ado, let's dive in how to launch these campaigns. So what you're going to do is you're going to go to Campaign Manager and you're going to click Sponsored Brands. These are sponsored brands video ads, and this is how you set up these videos. Okay, so we are in Campaign Manager right now. We are launching our sponsored brand campaign. So let's go through step by step what each of these is. So in the campaign, it's going to have a default name. These default names are horrible. I would recommend entering in something like this. So this is our naming structure. You can use a naming structure if you would like. We like to put in the beginning of the campaign name some sort of product identifier. Now for you, that might be the ASIN. So you might put in the ASIN. Maybe you would like to put in the SKU. For us, we like some kind of word. So if it's like a metal water bottle or we're launching the pink one, we would put that in there specifically. We like some kind of, and you can either do a dash or a pipe. And then what we like to do is put SBV. So sponsored brands video. And then we like to specify, because we split out the match types into their own campaigns. There's a strategic reason to do that. We're going to talk about match types in a minute. Also the ones you don't want to use when it comes to launching these campaigns, the ones that will waste you tons and tons of money, but I digress. So in this case, I might just say, hey, we're going to launch sponsored brands exact match. So video. We also like to specify where we found the keywords. So what is our source? So we do keyword research. I might do search STR for search term reports. More on that and how to select keywords in a second. I'm going to tell you a pro tip on how to not waste money from the get. And then the other thing we would like to do is the actual goal of this campaign. So for example, we might say this is a ranking campaign, and then I also like to specify the date. So in this case, I'm going to do 9/21/24, and then this would be my campaign name. The reason why we're so structured like this is it allows me to say immediately, just from reading this campaign name, I can say what products we're advertising, the type of ad, the type of match type, where I got the keywords, my intention for this campaign, and also when it was launched. All of that information I can get just by looking at this campaign name. And from that, even when I'm in a search term report, it adds so much value, and it's very, very quick for me to be able to analyze these things. Okay. So I'm going to not put it in a portfolio. If there's a particular portfolio you would like to keep these in, if it's, have a portfolio for each product. You can select that. Start date is fine. I like to keep no end dates on these ones. And then the budget I would put, it really depends on what you're comfortable with. I might just start off with a $20 budget, but again, it would depend on your overall budget. Now, when it comes to goals, this is the first way that you can waste money. And this is the first thing that I'm going to recommend to you is choosing to drive page visits. If you're choosing grow brand impression share, this is a VCPM model. There's a very specific way in which you need to optimize these if you don't want to waste money, because these ones were going to seem like they're amazing. The ACoS is going to look amazing, but the data is, I don't want to say it's inaccurate, but it's misleading. And so there's a specific way you want to analyze these. If you don't know how to do it, you're not going to serve your brand well. And we choose drive page visits because we found it works best. Now, when it comes to bidding and automated bidding, I would leave this on. That's a little bit more of an advanced option. Again, you need to know what you're doing. And just to be clear, when Amazon is automatically optimizing your bids, they're never optimizing up, they're only optimizing down. So it's not like you're going to waste money here. Now, when it comes to your ad group settings, we like to do one campaign and one ad group. So what we do is we would simply copy the campaign name down into the ad group. So that's what I'm going to do here. And then when we go to ad format, you would select video because we're going to be launching video ads. All right, and here is the next thing that you're going to have to make a decision on. You can select either having these go to a landing page, or you can select a product detail page. So do you want the shoppers to be directed to your storefront somewhere? So in this case, we are choosing the homepage. If you have sub pages, here's another pro tip here. If you have sub pages for very specific groupings of products, that can be a very helpful way to direct a traffic. So you essentially are treating your store like it's individual landing pages. If you have that set up, that might be useful for you. If you just have a single product, maybe you just want them to go directly to the detail page. And this is why it was helpful to know where these ads even show up. That's why I started with that piece of information, because if you want to have a headline ad, so if you want that big banner and you want your video to show up at the very top, which when it comes to mobile, that takes up a lot of real estate and is insanely intriguing. So that could be really helpful. If you want that ad spot, you have to choose direct to a store page to be able to get that. So that is something helpful to know. So you can choose your targeting here depending on what you want to do. Now, here's another way where you can waste money and things can get really, really messed up. Amazon is now by default selecting this. They're giving us a new cost control option. A lot of these things in theory sound fantastic. Why would we not want Amazon to control our cost per click and help us keep costs down? With these new dynamic options from Amazon and Amazon saying, hey, let me take the wheel, let me take control, let me help you out, what we have found through a lot of testing is that in theory, these things sound amazing. In practice, the performance just isn't what we want it to be. So I would recommend deselecting this and optimizing your bids just according to the performance. All right, getting down to targeting. So many pitfalls with this ad type, so many things that Amazon by default checks or allows us to do. And again, if you don't know how to optimize it, if you don't know how to choose the right settings, it is so easy to waste ad dollars here. I don't want that for you. So when it comes to your targeting, I recommend choosing keyword targeting. Product targeting in sponsored brand ads is a little bit tricky because actually what happens when you choose products to target, Amazon will target keywords. But the problem with this targeting, and I'm also going to pop open another thing for you and show you how targeting in Amazon advertising sponsored brand ads there's a lot of things that can go wrong. And so you definitely need to know what you're getting into when you choose your targeting. But when it comes to product targeting, again, we're targeting keywords, which in theory is fine. But the problem is you can't add negative keywords to product targeting. So what ends up happening is you waste a whole bunch of money and you don't have any way to control it. I wouldn't recommend, and if you don't even use product targeting at all in your sponsored brands video ads, you're going to be just fine. Now, when it comes to actually what keywords to target, we'll get into match types. And again, another pitfall that Amazon is just going to throw in here for you that's going to waste a lot of money. These two things, Amazon is going to give you these two options. So by default, these are in here and you want to remove them. They're going to say, hey, let's help you target keywords related to your brand or keywords related to your landing page. We tested these out. All they do is waste money. Get rid of them. Don't waste your ad dollars. Spend it on things that are going to convert for you well. Now, when it comes to what keywords you should be targeting, I'm going to give you a pro tip here. The best thing we have found when it comes to testing your video ads is using the data that you already have in your account. So if you're running sponsored product ads, if you have auto campaigns running, if you have any sort of search term report data to know which keywords convert well for your products, that is going to be the best place to start. When it comes to expansion efforts, and expansion means like more keywords that I'm targeting, more ad types that I'm using, you always want to go off of what you have proven you've already spent ad dollars to find has the best bet of working. So I would recommend going into your search term reports for your sponsored product ads, looking at the product that you're trying to advertise and saying, what do I have good data to know really works well for this product? The other thing that I would do is I would limit the amount of keywords that you're initially targeting to maybe 5 or 10 depending on your ad budget. We don't want to add too many ad dollars into the account. It's good to start small and you can always work your way up from there. Whatever keywords, whatever everything else. So what match types should we be using? And here is another place where you need to be very careful. So Amazon just made some updates within the last year to the way that their sponsored brand match types work. So if you look here in the manual match types, if you read these definitions, when it comes to sponsored brand ads, so in broad match, we don't even use broad match in sponsored brand ads anymore. What we have found is that they have a high chance of wasting a ton of ad dollars. If you really want to test it, I would recommend starting out with a very low bid. And when I say low bid, that is typically about half of your average cost per click is where I would start, maybe even lower than that, because you don't want to waste a lot of ad dollars. If you are using broad match inside of any sort of sponsored brand ads, make sure you are keeping up with your negatives. You want to be analyzing your search term reports minimum weekly because things can pop up and waste ad dollars very fast. Now, when it comes to phrase match keywords, the same thing can happen now. So in sponsored product campaigns, these work a little bit differently. However, in sponsored brand campaigns, this match type allows advertisers to show their ads and searches that include the meaning of the keyword. So if the phrase has curtain rod and a customer query is pull for curtains for bedroom, a phrase match can occur. So phrase match can work. And then also in exact match, what we found is in this match type as well. In sponsored brand campaigns, this match type allows advertisers to show their searches on the same meaning or the same intent as the keyword. For example, if an advertiser has the exact keyword outside lights and a customer queries outdoor lights, that can also trigger, which means what we've seen is that there's a high tendency in sponsored brand ads for a lot of irrelevant searches being triggered, which means you need to be very careful if you're running this ad type to keep up with your negative keywords. Watch those search term reports very, very carefully. And again, we're only launching for one specific match type here. I do not recommend mixing match types. So what I would do is I would select the exact match. And what I would do is I would enter a list. So when you're choosing the keywords to select, I would only put, again, one match type, and I'm going to enter in my own list. So I'm going to enter the keywords that I found in my search term report. And I'm just going to say, let's enter in garlic press, stainless steel garlic press, and then enter the keyword. So the last thing that we have to figure out is what do we want our bids to start at? And so here we can see that the recommended bid is $1.95. I'm going to leave this. You should have an idea what your average cost per click is. Oftentimes with video ads, due to the fact that there's a little bit more limited ad spots, you sometimes have to be a bit more aggressive with your bids to really gain impressions. So there's two ways to do this. One, just start at the recommended bid. If the recommended bid is very, very high, sometimes I've seen things like $5, you might want to start low and then work your way up. The thing is, you can always start at a lower bid and increase to gain impressions. The lower the bid you start, typically the longer it's going to take you to gain impressions. So it really just depends on what makes sense for your brand at this point. And when we're done with that, you can enter in the video ad name. So what do you want to type in? So if you have a couple different creatives and you're testing things, I would recommend just giving yourself a description of what's included in this video ad. So by default, your logo and brand name are going to be there. You can enter in, so if you are trying to get the headline ad, you can enter in the 3 products you want to show up in your headline ad. Pro tip here, make sure that whatever products you select are on the landing pages that you're sending the shoppers to, because if they see the product and they're trying to purchase that product, you want to make sure that they're able to find that product. However, if you're just selecting go to a specific detail page, you would just enter the single product and they would be taken straight to that detail page, and only one product is going to show up in your advertising. And then from here, of course, we're going to select our video, and again, make sure you're using those pro tips and those specifications to get the best possible conversion rates for your product. Then once you are done with all of that, congratulations, you've gone through it and launched your first video ad. You're going to click submit for review. So with any of the ad types that have some sort of creative associated with them, sponsored product ads, the launching is pretty much instantaneous. With video ads, sponsored display ads, Amazon does review them. Again, they're reviewing your creatives to make sure they meet all of the specifications, because they don't want someone to be able to launch something that's inappropriate on their platform. And so again, those specifications we went over in the beginning, 100% need to make sure you stay within their guidelines to make sure you don't get any issues. But once you hit the submit for review, you will see this pop up inside of your ad console, but it won't be live. And then as soon as you are eligible, they've reviewed it and they say, hey, yeah, you can run the ad, then your ad will go live. And typically it doesn't take too long. So this is how you set up your video ads for success the first time without having to waste any ad dollars, without having to do any rework. And again, if you want that resource to send it to your creative developer or just to review yourself, highly recommend checking out the link in the description. And as you go through it, if you're wanting more information on how to most effectively choose a starting bid for your campaigns, highly recommend you go check out this next video.